Hello, it's January 1st, 2025, New Year's Day. I want to talk about New Year's resolutions, and often I think they're pretty bad. The reason why I say that they're bad is because I feel like resolutions should be committed to more. But I do think it is a good idea to set goals. But when goals are vaguely defined, it kind of becomes a balancing act of what to do and what to improve on. Sometimes I'm satisfied with what I draw and kind of what ends up on the page, and I think that's great, but I feel like I need a lot more experience with perspective, probably just overall drawing with a pencil. For a while, I've done a lot of digital drawing, but I didn't, save any of it, and I want to say the reason for that was because I kind of looked at it as, files clogging on my computer compared to paper, in which I know it sounds like completely weird, but I feel more inclined to actually save physical paper. And it's kind of funny how I see myself going back, but I guess you could say for some of my main New Year's resolutions, I definitely want to make more stuff that I save rather than stuff that I just throw away. I do a lot of practice, and it's kind of funny how I feel like for years I've done nothing but practice, but I never have saved any of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think a lot of stuff that you make isn't really save worthy. This is one page out of a million. I mean, not literally a million, but just a lot of pages in which I'm always trying to gain more experience. I'm trying to make new things, experiment with shapes, shape language, as they would say, and trying to do meaningful practice. And I think that, that's something that, it takes you out. I know I share a lot of the stuff I do with YouTube, obviously not everything I do, but the thing about that is when you're trying to improve, you sometimes go through long periods of time in which you really can't tell if you're improving or not. And it's kind of funny how, sometimes I'll make stuff and I won't be thinking, and I'll draw something and I'll I actually want to save that. And it's funny. I think at some point I probably should make a desk area for me so that I can record myself and draw rather than this it's kind of like a small desk. How do I put it? It's kind of like a desk that a lap desk rather than one you would sit at a table. But yeah, I feel like I should do that for posture, because when I've had time off, I would pretty much spend a good chunk of the day just sitting here, kind of sitting down on the ground, and it kind of resulted in some bad back pain in which I had to stop drawing because of the pain. And I find that kind of weird because I do not like to. It's weird, not giving up, but I mean just having to take extended breaks because of back pain. And I know I could fix that because I have a table. And it's just, yeah. So if I had to say my big New Year's resolutions would be obviously creating more videos to share stuff that I find worthwhile. But I guess you could say I always have to think whether is my stuff worth sharing. Not trying to treat everything I make as precious, but sometimes I make stuff and I kind of get a good laugh because I'm always thinking about bugs. And obviously, a lot of my ideas are sometimes half-baked, but I think it's better to write them down than not to write them down. A long time ago, I want to say maybe about a year ago, when I had an idea, I would make a note in my phone, and sometimes I would never make the idea, and I think that was, a bad plan. I think it's a good idea for me to draw something, as soon as I have that idea, because I've realized that if I don't do that, sometimes, I'll forget what the idea was, and I'll never make it. So instead, I'm even if I have to put it on paper, I don't plan to save, and then maybe redraw it on, longer lasting paper. I mean, this is just Bristol paper. I like drawing on Bristol. If I could say, it's so weird, and I'm just so quirky that through the years, I could tell when I'm drawing on smooth Bristol paper compared to printer paper, even though I will use printer paper. I've also realized that my pencil lead snaps on this paper, and it's I'm so disappointed by that. but there's not much I can do about that, but I'll still use it anyway. Obviously, probably has to do with the fibers affecting the lead. I don't think the lead is cheap, in my opinion. I think it's just a surface, and I always mention this, but I do draw on a stack of other paper, smooth paper behind it, because if you don't do that, sometimes it can affect the quality. In general, the Bristol is like pretty thick paper, or Bristol Series 300 is. But yeah, I mean, I've had fun just drawing random things. I think I could always be looking at more reference. I think I am definitely going to strive for that. Write down every funny idea that I have. But yeah, I think if you're going into New Year's and you're thinking about setting goals and setting resolutions, I want to say another thing is I've been following this YouTuber. His name is Tim McBurney, the Drawing Codex. And what I've realized is he's a professional, and I've really been trying to draw stuff. I really have been trying to follow his videos, not just follow them, but after them, as I get ideas, I actually write stuff down, and I save stuff, so I get good ideas. And what I'm trying to say here is that he has so much experience. He's a professional. Like, I am not a professional. I do not do this for a living. I just kind of have fun doing it. Not to exclude one from the other, but yeah, I don't do it for a living, but I do have a lot of fun with it. But the point I'm trying to say is that when I've been watching his videos, and I kind of like have come to this conclusion that a lot of professionals, even though they may or may not go to like an art school or something like that, a lot of these professionals have like over 10 years of experience in it. And I don't mean to like always be calling the 10-year rule into question here, because that's kind of just, a lot of it depends on how much time you can put into it. And I'll say that there are probably people who could get maybe like 8 years of experience if they go to art school for like 4 years, but I know that's kind of weird of what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is that to have dedicated time to not only draw, but to draw a fun idea that you had or something like that, it could be incredibly satisfying, but in general, a lot of people may not always have time. To come from like the software world, or more like web development, or I know they kind of overlap, but the point I'm trying to say is that like in the web development world, they always say, did you repeat your first year 10 times? And that, I heard that right away when I started. And I'm always keeping that in the back of my mind, because basically it's trying to say, don't get stuck in a stagnation cycle. And I always attempt to break that. Now, the thing about technology, though, is that compared to drawing fundamentals, in which like you learn to draw, and you always have to kind of be aware of trying to get things to a better reality, or whatever joking reality that you want to have, you kind of like gain that experience. Now, when I say gain that experience, I mean like you gain the ability to render, or you gain the ability to draw, ink, deal with color, perspective, etc. And that kind of stays with you. With the software world, a lot of core technologies do stay the same, but sometimes they change from version to version. And sometimes other employers will want things like, they want Angular with this specific version, not the newest version. And it's like, when you go into that job, in your free time, if you wanted to like take on a project and maybe you're using the most recent version, but the workplace is wedded to a version from 3 to 4 years ago, sometimes like, do you maintain it? Do you retrofit it? Do you code new features that aren't in it into it? And I know that's kind of weird, but what I'm trying to say here is that I think for those of you who are drawing, you kind of have this advantage in which a lot of the skills are the same. And not to like compare it differently, but if I could compare it, there's a thing called design patterns in programming, and design patterns all have to do with trying to find the right patterns to apply to a problem. And basically, these problems are have been, people have run into them before. And because people have run into them before, they'll say, okay, well, I'm being repetitive here. If I use I don't know, I'll give the most general one, a factory one for something I'm doing again and again and again that can be reused again, I would use like a factory pattern for that. Or heck, if you need something that controls everything and you only want one of them, you would try to make like a singleton, i.e. a single thing. And the point of a lot of them is that there are patterns that you follow. And, I know it's kind of weird, but for the advantage I'm trying to say is that for those of you who are drawing, like, that if your drawing isn't looking good in maybe like another phase, maybe you need to step back and go to the rendering or like just a drawing in pencil phase. And that's a phase that I've stayed in for a long time. I'm always trying to improve, and I have to say, I tend to really avoid going into even shading. I probably should do that. There's so much that I feel like I should do, and so much that I'm really trying to get better at, and probably just doing more practice over long periods of time is my solution. I definitely want to draw more perspective and apply it into interesting things. But yeah, there's a lot that I plan to do, and I'm actually looking forward to it. I guess you could say that that's kind of the difference. Maybe not the difference, but, I guess with drawing, at least I know that my pencil today will work the same tomorrow. But good luck with that with software. But yeah, I hope your New Year's is treating you well. Please let me know in the comments what your resolutions are, and maybe try to think of it as maybe every year try to add a few more resolutions, and maybe even understand that you may not master them, or you may get very close, and you can always come back to them and not fret about it. But yeah, if I had to say, my big New Year's resolutions are probably going to be rendering, or just drawing, and perspective. I really want to get better at perspective. I think I need to spend a lot of time trying to get better at that, and trying to just draw, and obviously share along the way. I also hope to get my computer fixed soon. I know I keep talking about it, and I need to make a better setup for recording myself. I don't know if I ever want to do something like streaming or something like that. It could be a fun thing, but I don't know. Sometimes when I get ideas, they don't come to me all at once. Sometimes I'll be drawing and for, I don't know, an hour or maybe even longer, and then I'll be I can't think of anything, so then I'll walk away and I'll think of something funny, and then I'll be there it is, great, I have an idea. Okay, well that's all I wanted to share today. I'm glad I was able to make this video. I almost forgot to make this video. I don't know why. I've been kind of, I just had a cold, and it really threw me off these past couple of days, and I don't like the fact that I went into New Year's with a cold, considering how much I originally planned to get done, and it's hilarious. That's all I'll say, but I'm still having a good time regardless. But yeah, like I said, please let me know in the comments what your New Year's resolutions are, and have a happy New Year's. Bye.